I'm excited to go over your results of your neurotoxic assessment and your cellular damage test. But I do want to say this first. First of all, in your appointment with your expert, which is next, look, they're going to drill down in specific symptoms. I don't have your specific symptoms. I have here that you were less than 30. So congratulations, by the way, but in fact, you do have cellular inflammation. I'm going to also give you a review of that so you get the most out of that appointment. And I also want you to be prepared for exactly what's going to happen at that appointment. So let's dig into this. Let me talk about the neurotoxic assessment first. Look, obviously you're doing some things right, but there's certain symptoms you're still not happy with. The meaning is if you're over 30, we absolutely go, this person's neurotoxic. Now, under 30, that means that you have things in control. Maybe you're doing a lot of things right and it's working, but you're still frustrated with certain symptoms. Absolutely. And if you stop doing those, you might be over 30. I don't know the exact details there. You're going to work that out with the expert. But the fact that you have cellular inflammation, that is a concern, and I do want to bring that up. So, this is a quick review. You've seen me draw this. Here's what I want you to hear. And I hope this gives you hope. So I'm not just showing you this for any other reason. I want you to understand it as you move into the appointment with the expert. I explained that cellular inflammation, right? We know it's the cause of everything, right? Every chronic disease, inflammation, but really it's cellular inflammation. When our cells are inflamed, we don't get the good stuff in, we don't get the bad stuff out. That means that if you can't get the stuff in, diet changes, supplements, hormones, it doesn't work. And the more inflamed somebody's cell is, the worse that becomes. But also, you can't get the bad stuff out, means that toxins are building up in the cell. And why is that a problem? Well, because it starts to shut down every pathway that makes energy, so we don't have brain fog, anxiety, we sleep through the night, right? All of that is energy dependent. Believe it or not, even constipation, you might have heard, is a thyroid issue. Well, that just means it's an energy issue, right? And why we can't heal our gut, it's often a cellular issue, most often. One other problem, in every cell we have the DNA, right? That's precious to us. That when a gene is turned on, that means that we could express a thyroid condition or some other hormone condition or a symptom that we don't like. But our doctors make us feel, or at least tell us that, oh, you just had this condition because your mother had it or your father had it. No, that was disproven in the early 90s with the Human Genome Project. Actually started in the 80s. But the fact is genes can be turned on and they can be turned off. That's what we need to hear more about. Yes, genes can be downregulated. The science shows it. You're going to learn more about that because my whole system is really based on that. But that said, unless we get this cell functioning and moving toxins out, we're never turning off the gene. We're never going to feel well despite diet changes, despite hormones, all the things we do. One more piece of review. So I hope you heard that. This should give you hope because I know you've done a lot of things. You've tried a lot of diets. You've tried a lot of supplements. You may have tried hormones, different medications. Who knows? And therefore, Dr. Pompa, one more thing that doesn't work will set me and my family over the edge. I've been there, I know. So I want you to understand this. This is different because we're getting to the cause of why people don't feel well today. Look, it's clear. Even in the last 10, 20 years, it's changed dramatically. The number of neurotoxins that we're being exposed to that are driving cellular inflammation, hormone problems, right? Because remember, these receptors to every hormone are on the cells. And if those hormones can't, whether it's thyroid hormone, testosterone, estrogen, insulin, doesn't matter the hormone. If they can't get onto that receptor, get their message or themselves in the cell, you don't feel well despite. We need to get to the cause of the inflammation, the things that are blocking the hormones, right? Many of us have gone, myself included, to get our blood work to say, okay, what is wrong? And I knew my thyroid wasn't working, right? My hair was thinning, right? Of course I had no energy. I was getting skinny fat, my body temperature dysregulation, but yet my blood test came back normal. Now, some of you may say, well, my blood work came out abnormal for these hormones. Okay, and then maybe they give you the hormone, whatever it is. Make your blood levels normal. Doesn't matter. If your cells are inflamed and the hormones can't get their message in the cell, You don't feel well despite the diet change, the hormones, it doesn't matter. Yeah, so I think you get that point. I'm not going to draw it. But remember how I draw the human head and the brain in there? So anyways, the reason I do that is because neurotoxins, the biggest nerve in the body is the brain. They make their way in the brain. And what I've been telling doctors for years, you will never fix somebody's gut unless you fix the first brain. You won't fix their hormones unless you fix the brain. Remember, it's the brain that controls it all. It's the control tower, a place specifically in the brain. Remember me drawing that, the hypothalamus pituitary right in the center where studies show that these neurotoxins get in. That was my problem. My pituitary, I was trying everything to fix the thyroid, the adrenals, no avail. Nothing was working because my control tower was poisoned. Yeah, my cells may have been inflamed as well, obviously. And I want to bring up one more thing. Certain hormones have to convert to different forms to even get in the cell. And guess what blocks that? Certain toxins. So many reasons why we analyze, we do the neurotoxic assessment, because we specifically know, and this is 20 years, and that test has gotten better and better, teaching doctors, refined to the point where we know certain symptoms can drive mold illness, certain symptoms can reflect heavy metals, even mercury, lead. They have certain patterns, infection has certain patterns. So again, I'm repeating myself, but you're going to drill down with your expert to find out what your perfect storm is. And that really is the next step, because if we can find that perfect storm, now we're finally getting to the cause. Saunas, it's not real detox. It doesn't do anything to fix the cell. I love saunas, right? Foot baths, you name it. The 10-day cleanse, this cleanse, the juice cleanse. That's not detox. Detox is fixing these pathways that are broken. Did you realize cellular energy, and I didn't even talk about that, but when these membranes are inflamed, these inner mitochondrial membranes are inflamed. That's where you make energy. And as energy drops, which many of you are complaining of, you feel that. But when the cellular energy drops, that's the brain fog, the anxiety, can't sleep, right? Can't lose weight anymore. But as energy drops, and we'll just say ATP, there's something called glutathione, and it's abbreviated GSH. That goes down. But what is that? That's how your cells naturally get rid of toxins. It's called the Gibbs free energy equation. As energy drops, so does glutathione, so does the ability of the cell to detox. Then toxins build up, genes get triggered, you get the point. But one other thing happens. According to Gibbs, that drops, energy drops, glutathione drops, inflammation shoots up. Perpetual cycle. Nothing worked. Makes sense? Okay, you're going to meet with the expert. Here's what I want you to hear. This is the most important part. First of all, you've spent a lot of money, a lot of things that didn't work. I appreciate that. That gives you some fear as you meet with your expert, right? Going like, is this going to be one more thing? Your boldness or your confidence shouldn't be in this. My boldness comes because I was you. Yep, the only authority I have to help you is because I was you. If I asked you this question, who is qualified to help a drug addict or an alcoholic? You would say, a drug addict or an alcoholic. Yeah, because the person sitting across from them is at one point going to say, you don't know what it feels like. You don't know what it's like. Well, I was you, right? So the person who is most qualified is the person who was that and went through that pain. And therein lies my confidence. And I'll say this, the boldness in this also comes from God gave it to me. I'm not smart enough, and I mean that, because he taught me it all, and through my wife, at my worst place, her crying out to God on her knees, literally, true story. God spoke to her heart and said, not only am I going to help him get well or get him well, he's going to take a message to the world. So I stand there with that confidence. I hope that helps you. And remember Rakazakamatsu. All you need to do is step into the promise. Look, we'll never say we could help everyone. And our experts are really good at finding out who's helpable, who's ready. So if you say, look, I am sick and tired of being here, I'm going to do whatever you tell me to do, okay, that interview is going to go very well. But there is someone who we can help, and that is someone who's locked in their identity of the illness. Meaning, it's more fearful to get well than it literally is to stay there. And I know that sounds silly, but we are very good in knowing who those people are. So we might have lost some people right there. But the fact is I want the interview to go well. So, be confident in that this is the answer, and I think you'll project that.